With the most recent episode of Yellowjackets being released, Season 2, Episode 2, and with it concluding the way that it did with a feast that was extremely haunting to bear witness to, the trailer for Episode 3 of the show, titled Digestive, was recently released shortly after, with it looking like things are going to be going up a level in both the present day and also in the past when they were stranded. I thought I'd break down and explain the trailer and give my theories and predictions on what I think could happen next. So let's get into it. Here is Yellowjackets Season 2 Episode 3 Trailer Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The trailer opened up in the past with Shauna saying to Lottie, "I'm scared, Lottie. Everything feels out of control." This was intertwined with a few different clips that highlighted the divide in the group and the many different arcs and turbulence that appears as though is happening and is most likely going to be happening. We had a shot of what remained of Jackie on the fire pit, which was the place where the savage consumption of her occurred in the previous episode. We had a shot of Nat looking over out of the cabin, and then one of Tai leaning over and looking as though she was letting out a harrowing scream, almost implying that she was on the verge of entering the state that we saw her in when she was staring at Simone in the present day. This is most likely alluding to the separation that's going on and the lack of control that is present within all of them. Lottie and Shauna are growing closer in a spiritual sense, and Lottie well and truly has her grasp on Shauna and her mindset. Nat is doing her best to lead Travis away from that side and develop a genuine relationship while trying to get him to understand that Javi is most probably not out there. And Tai is constantly doing things that she doesn't remember during the night and losing her grasp on reality, something which is now also being mirrored within the present day. So these few seconds are very much leaning towards the chaotic nature that's most likely going to be continuing to unravel. Shortly after this, we were then given a shot of what looked like it was in a hospital ward where we saw Tai. I'm imagining this is most likely following on from the accident which we saw occur when Tai blacked out during the drive to collect Sammy from school. However, she does have a different outfit on from the end of the second episode, so I think that Tai's injuries weren't that severe, meaning she left and then came back to check on Simone. The next piece of dialogue that was spoken was by a nurse, and she said, "Such an interesting design you drew on her," as it then cut to the symbol that we're all too familiar with being present on Simone's hand. We saw it all throughout Season 1, and we've also seen it being featured in Season 2 as well, where we've seen it on a pendant around Lottie's cult member's neck, being drawn on the mist in the window by Lottie, and also it was present by the bush in the frost when Tai was about to walk off of a steep edge. So it seems as though maybe Tai could have drawn this on Simone at some point when she was in a blacked out state following the car accident. After this, we then cut to a different location, and it seemed as though we had Misty meeting with an individual who we got a brief glimpse of in Episode 2, which is a character called Walter who is played by Elijah Wood. Walter is an individual who appears to be invested in the disappearance of Adam on the Citizens Detective Forum, and is known online as his username Putting the Sick in Forensics. With him sending the note to Misty in the most recent episode, it certainly seems as though the pair are going to be working together to aid in each other's needs. However, I imagine Misty won't be revealing that much due to her actually knowing about what happened to Adam. They've communicated online before in the forum, so it will be interesting to see what the dynamic will be like in person. The dialogue that was spoken in the trailer and at their meet was, "It's an honor to meet you, Misty," as the both of them were meeting by the docks on a boat. Misty responded with the attitude that we've all come to expect from her when she said, "Okay, let's get one thing straight. This is my case and my witness." This is most likely alluding to the person that Walter mentioned in the note that he sent to her. The person that he said was present when Natalie went missing. Within Episode 2 of the show, we saw that the security camera that was present where Natalie was at was in fact a dummy, and was there for the sake of just deterring bad behavior, so there was no footage that would have been able to have been retrieved from Natalie's disappearance. However, there was a person that Walter ID'd who had been living at the motel for 3 months, and he instead posed as an FBI agent in order to get an interrogation in process, which is most likely the witness that Misty was referring to when she was conversing with Walter in the trailer. So I imagine we're going to see them interrogating an individual over the whereabouts of Natalie, and trying to find out information on what they saw on the night that she went missing. Following this, we then cut to the past when they were stranded in the wild, and the line, "I'm sorry for what we did," was present. It's hard to make out who said it, but it could be a few different people. It could well be Nat, as the shot was on her, or it could be Shauna. I imagine this is most likely referring to the consumption of Jackie, so one would imagine that it could well be Shauna that uttered the line, which then could mean that she's still having the hallucinations even after Jackie's body is no longer around her. However, after listening closely to the voices again, it does sound as though it could be Nat, and it could be for the exact same reason, especially with the shot of her looking out at the cabin earlier on. It could be taken from then. This was intertwined with a shot of Nat then looking as though she was off hunting on her own, following the mindset that Travis adopted in trying to let the search for his missing brother go. He could well be holding back and Nat could have decided to go off. However, it looks as though it's going to be detrimental due to the fact that a wild moose is going to discover her and look as though it's going to go in for the attack, so I guess we'll see how she fares following the encounter. I imagine she'll most probably kill it and then they'll have quite a large supply of food, which will mean that they then won't have to be like cannibals for the time being. The next line that was then being spoken was by Shauna in the present day, and it was the line, "Have you ever peeled the skin off of a human corpse?" It looked as though she was going off and doing some investigative work of her own. In some other shots, it looked as though she was going to be working with Jeff, and Jeff is going to be getting closer to Kevin. So I do wonder if somebody actually has some dirt on her, and she's going to be threatening them in order to stay quiet about what little information they may know. Then that was it. The trailer drew to a close. Interestingly, there was no incorporation of a modern-day Lottie and Nat, so I do wonder if they will be absent from the next episode, and instead will focus more on the repercussions in the past, following on from everybody consuming Jackie, and the different directions that they're going to be going in. I also feel as though it's going to be more of a modern-day hunt for Nats on Misty's side, and the introduction of the character Walter and the eventual growing closer of the pair, because I feel as though they're going to be spending a lot of time together, especially when comparing it to the overall Season 2 trailer. With the episode being titled Digestive and the definition being a drink that is consumed before or after a meal to aid digestion, I think it's merely a play on the fact that this is the episode that's following on from an extremely gruesome consumption, and the digestion process is now in place. I'm looking forward to seeing the stakes being high, especially when it comes to Nat being trapped and the case of Shauna looking as though it's going to be closing in, as she's most probably going to be moved to a prime suspect in the case of the disappearance of Adam. So, there you have it, Yellowjackets Season 2 Episode 3 trailer explained. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What do you think is going to happen next? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.